Welcome to She Sells Radio. First of all, if you are watching this or listening to this in real time, I want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving week. And whatever you're doing, whether you're traveling, whether you're staying home with family, I just hope that you take a moment to look around and to appreciate what is in your life. And it's something that I am consciously reminding myself of every day too, is to stop and notice all of the good, because we can get so caught up in, when you're a goal oriented person, which I'm guessing you are, because you're listening to this show, it's so easy to get caught up right in, I've got to do this next thing and that next thing. And we stop to look at what we've already accomplished. And very likely, where you are right now, although it may not be perfect because it never is, because that's not life, but where you are right now, if you think back to what your former self wanted, whether, a couple of years ago, 6 months ago, even a couple of weeks ago, it's very likely something that at one point in your life you thought would not be possible. And so I'm doing that this week, is just looking around and appreciating and noticing, oh my gosh, like, do I have bigger goals I'm stretching for? Yes. Do we have next level things that we're wanting to do as a team and a family? Yes. And that's good. And that's part of life, but also noticing like, wow, there's so many things to look around and appreciate, that once were just, felt like, not a fantasy, but like felt maybe out of reach. And so I want to just start with that and also say how grateful I am for you as a listener, whether you are a longtime listener or whether you're new here. Thank you so much for the honor of being in your ear every week. That's a very intimate experience. And I appreciate that so much. So thank you. And we're doing something a little different on the podcast today that I'm excited about. And it was inspired because I was speaking with a client the other day who said she was going back through a series that I did this spring. I think it was maybe April or May, on how to release resistance to what you want. And it's based on the book Ask and It's Given by Abraham Hicks. And I remembered when I was doing that, how many people said, oh my gosh, like this is transformational. And they had incredible manifestations coming into their life quickly. New client, like big new clients, healed relationships, things that they felt like were goals that were far out of reach for a long time were coming in really, really fast. And I thought, oh my gosh, like I kind of did it and then just moved on, which, we often do with series like that. But I thought, gosh, we've got a lot of new listeners on the podcast, and whether you're new or whether you're not, I want to bring this segment today to you from that series for you to listen to. And we talk about this in the She Sells methodology, that hitting your sales goals is probably anywhere from 5 to 20% tactical, and anywhere from 95 to 80% mindset and who you're being. And if when you think of your goal, it feels out of reach, bigger than you, or it feels hard, that's a sign, that is a sure sign that you've actually got some resistance around hitting that goal, which is slowing down the progression of it in your life. And when we notice that, we don't have any judgment about it, but it's more just conscious awareness of, okay. And when I say resistance, all that means is that there's some sort of a belief system running in you that thing is too big, you're not worthy, money is bad, if it's a financial goal, et cetera. So this whole series is designed to give you practices that you can do from that book that will help you release that and help you step into much faster alignment with being the type of person who just naturally and easily has this thing that you're going for. And so I wanted to share this with you today. And if you like it, you can go and get the whole series for free on my YouTube channel. So if you're not watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to the audio version right now, just search Elyse Archer on YouTube and you'll find my channel. And of course, if it speaks to you and is helpful, I'd be super honored if you subscribe and share with a friend as well. It helps us get the word out for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and open up for the episode here. I hope you enjoy. As always, I love seeing on social media your biggest takeaways. So please take a screenshot, tag me, let me know what your biggest takeaway was. And I hope you really enjoy this special segment on how to release resistance to what you want. This has felt like something that I just was called to teach, and I have learned in my life to just follow my intuition. And I got this download a couple of weeks ago, like, you need to do this series for people, because I was reading Ask and It Is Given by Abraham Hicks. I don't know if any of you have read it, but it created such profound transformation in my life, learning some of these practices on how to release resistance, that I just felt so called to do it. But definitely have a notepad out as much as you can, tune out everything else. This is really important, and this can change your life. Okay. It can absolutely change your life when you learn this. And this is the stuff that I wish we got a manual on, like how to create what we want to create when we were born. I think most of us are given, at least I was taught the opposite. I don't know about you, but it's an unlearning and a relearning process. And so I'm honored to help facilitate this process for you through this series. And I can tell you right now, and I did not used to believe this. So if you're skeptical, if you're like, Elyse, I think this is a bag of BS, it's okay. I used to think that too. But the thing that is holding you back from getting what you want is that you have some level of resistance to it. Okay? It is. And again, I think some of you who've been studying law of attraction, vibration, The Secret for a while, you probably are like, yep, I get it. And then if you're like I was, even a few years ago, you're like, no, that's actually, that doesn't make any sense. I think I just need to work harder, right? Because that was what I thought for so long. And I'm going to share with you how this has transformed my life. And I'm going to share with you some very things that will help deeply shift your relationship to how you create. So I used to think my whole upbringing and conditioning was you got to work hard for what you want. And if you're not getting what you want, just work harder. Is anybody, can you relate to that? Like, 'cause I know for me, that was it. It was like, just keep pushing, keep going, keep working harder. And maybe you'll get it. You know, not everyone gets everything they want, but if you work, you got to work really hard to have what you want. That's so much of what we're taught, right? By people who are very well-meaning, whether that's your parents, the people who raised you, whether it's something you learned in school growing up. And so that was how I thought I would get what I want. And what I've learned over the years is that that's actually not true. And I'm going to share with you tonight why that's not true. And like I said, it may trigger you. It may make you think, Elyse, you're out of your mind. It's not that easy. It may make you think, oh my God, I can't believe I've been making it so hard for so many years when it didn't have to be. But I understand if that's your mindset and where you're coming from. My own personal experience, and I'll just talk about money here in this series a lot because that's really what I help the women I work with create more of generally. So I'm going to use that as kind of the example, but this applies to everything. Okay. So just know whether it's health, wealth, love, whatever it is you're looking for, it's all the same. It's all the same. But my own experience, growing up and then going into, I was in corporate sales and then I've run my own business for, 5+ years, was that I could bring in, like, I'm just going to share my numbers for context. Okay. But I could bring in like $10,000 to $15,000 a month. And I felt like I kept like bumping up against a ceiling where for some reason I couldn't bring in any more. And I always felt a level of anxiety as well about that money, which was like, it's good money, right? And so it's nothing to sneeze at, but it was always spent every month. And I was always in constant anxiety about where it was going to come from the next month. Can any of you are any of you noticing that you're living in some anxiety right now? Because that was like my go-to emotion, was constant anxiety. Even though a lot of it was low grade, it was still anxiety around, is the money going to stay, or the client's going to stay, yada, yada. So yeah. And that was my normal. That was how I lived. And it was like, no matter what I did, I always bumped up against that threshold, and I always found myself in that emotional state.
And I thought that was normal. I thought that was just how it was supposed to be because that was how I saw my parents, right? And so we pick up on this stuff and we think it's just how it's supposed to be. When I started learning what I'm going to be sharing with you in this April series, I didn't believe it at first. I thought it was too good to be true. I thought it had to be harder. I thought it was normal to live in constant anxiety. But when I just started to take in faith that perhaps there was a different way to create, and perhaps there was a different way to live. And part of that too is working with mentors who were bringing in way more money than me and seemed way more peaceful. They somehow didn't seem to be dealing with this anxiety and this stress. And I thought, are they just putting on a really good show, or is it something about how they're showing up that's actually creating more of that abundance in their lives that they've been looking for? And so I just went into this with an open mind and I started implementing the processes I'm going to be teaching you. And things shifted so fast for me in my outer world, in my physical experience. It was like my head spun. That 10 to 15,000 a month that I kept bumping up against and couldn't make more than turned into 120,000 a month in 6 weeks. Chronic health issues that had surfaced from all the anxiety and fear I was in, healed, gone. And this is not like, I am not special. I think I'm special. I think you're special, but I'm not different than you. Okay. This is because I learned how to actually work with my subconscious. I learned how to rewire my beliefs. I learned universal laws and how they work. And again, we're just not, I don't know about you, but I just was not taught this stuff growing up. And it's funny because I was coaching a group of women today in my 10K club, and I was like, this is like, especially universal laws, like this is the handbook that I wish we were given when we were initiated into this earth. And I don't know about you, but I wasn't given this handbook. But this is actually when you learn to work with the laws that govern how everything operates on our planet instead of against them, you get what you want. And when you learn how energy works and you learn how your subconscious works, which is all the stuff we're going to be talking about in this series, when you learn what resistance is and how to release it, then you get what you want. Okay? So you don't need to know how yet, but just come into this. If what I'm saying is triggering something in your mind that's like, it's not true, it's too good to be true, I don't believe her, totally fine. Like, I love it wherever you are. But I would invite you to just say, I'm just going to be open-minded. I'm just going to be open-minded. And frankly, it pushes me out of my comfort zone to share this with you, because I was so in like the corporate, logical, analytical world for so many years, which I know a lot of you are or have been, where you didn't talk about stuff like this. But it has had such a profound impact on my life, my family's life, my clients' lives, that I can't not tell it to you. And you decide for yourself, because it's so important. But here's what I want to talk about tonight. I want to kind of set the stage and foundation for us with a conversation of how does your subconscious mind work and why does it matter in terms of what you're getting right now? And then how does energy and frequency play in to you getting what you want? So get excited, because this is really good, juicy, awesome stuff. And I'm excited to share it with you. So, okay, let's talk about your mind and why you get what you want. And I'm actually going to draw you. I'm doing some art today. I did this for one of my coaching groups earlier today, and it just seems to be kind of showing up. Yeah, it always felt very tricky for me to like understand how it actually worked. Here's how it works in a nutshell. So everything in your life is a result of your belief systems. Okay, everything, the amount of money you make, the type of house you live in, the type of relationship you have, it is all a result of your belief systems about what is possible for you. Now, where did the belief systems come from? So let's talk about that for a minute. So I'm going to draw this little picture for you. Okay, so your mind, I'm just going to show on Instagram first, and I'm going to show on the other sites. Your mind is divided into, let's just consider it to be very simple here, 2 different parts. Okay, so you've got your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. Are we seeing that? Conscious and subconscious, conscious and subconscious. Your subconscious mind determines 95% of your results. So we've got 95% down here. Your subconscious mind is the seat of your belief system. So it is where all of those persnickety beliefs, now some of those, you probably have really good beliefs. If you've got good outcomes in your life, that means that you've got great belief systems that are supporting you. If you have outcomes you don't like, that means there's a belief system in there somewhere running the show that's not supporting you in getting what you want. Now, so the conscious mind is only 5%, okay? Where did our beliefs come from? Where do our beliefs come from? From the ages of 0 to 7, you are a walking subconscious, roughly 0 to 7. You are a walking subconscious. You do not have filter abilities to determine whether what comes into your brain is true for you or not. So if you hear your parents arguing about money, your sweet childhood brain takes that to mean money is bad, money makes people argue, I don't want more money, okay? Or you hear, like let's say that you hear your dad say like money doesn't grow on trees. Your brain takes that in as truth. It does not have the ability to filter it out. So that subconscious mind and that belief system is forming those first roughly 7 years of your life. Now, once you hit that age, you start to develop what's called your analytical mind, which is kind of this line of demarcation here. So this analytical mind allows you to filter and have discernment on what's true and what's not. What are you going to accept as a belief and what's not? That's where your willpower, your intuition, your logic, that's where that gets created, but it doesn't form until you're roughly, it's like 6 or 7 years old is when it starts forming. So now for all of you who are joining, assuming you're over the age of 7, which I think you are, you have both of these, okay? So you've got your conscious and your subconscious. But again, your subconscious is running the show. It's running 95% of the show for you. And what happens is if you are going for something like, let's say, you know, what you guys were sharing as you were coming in, like, I want to own my own business and travel the world. I want to have $1 million a year business or whatever. Consciously, you can know that that's possible. Consciously, you can look at other people and say, they have it, I can have it, I want it, it would be great for me to have more money, like I know I could do all these great things with it. Like you get that consciously, right? Subconsciously though, you were probably not even aware that there is a program, like if you don't have it yet, what that means is there's a program running that tells you that, again, in this case, more money is more problems, more money is bad, more money creates arguments, so I don't want more money, okay? This is how it works. Now, the good news is when there's a belief system running the show that's not empowering you, then you know because you don't feel good in your body. You know this is how your body works, is when you're believing something, when you have a belief that's not empowering you towards your goals, you feel bad in your body. So what's happening is you're going from trusting, right? Like you're going from that deeper sense of intuition, knowing that you can have that $1 million business, and then you're popping into your analytical mind, right? Because you've got some sort of limiting belief running the show about the fact that you can't have it, right? There was something you picked up growing up that you couldn't have it, or it was too much or whatever, right? So, but this is what runs the show for you, is your subconscious mind. This is it. So how do we start to get what we want? We have to rewire this. We have to learn how to rewire our subconscious. And I'm going to teach you how to do that, okay? But whatever you feel, that limiting belief that shows up with the thing you want, that is resistance. That is actually resistance, and it is the thing that is blocking you from getting what you want. So that's kind of just to know as we go into this series and this conversation. And then the filter, this line of demarcation, this is known as the reticular activating system. You can kind of think about it like the bouncer for your brain. So as you progressed from being, 6, 7 to then growing this conscious mind, you developed this line that's kind of like, again, it's like the bouncer into your subconscious mind, and it draws the line and it decides what it's going to let in and what it's not. So all that you're doing when you're reprogramming beliefs is it's like you're trying to get through the bouncer. Okay, you're trying to get through the bouncer. Your subconscious mind will never make you a liar, though. It is wired to give you exactly what you think is possible for your life, which is why this is so important. It's why some people can easily and effortlessly bring in $10 million a year. And for other people, it's a struggle to bring in 10,000. It's because it's a subconscious belief running the show about what is possible for them, what they deserve, what they can have. Okay. So you can rewire this, but it's going to require you knowing how to rewire your belief system. And it's kind of like you're trying to get into the, I don't know, when I was in college, I was like always trying to get into the club before I was legal. I was that girl. And it's kind of like you're going up to the bouncer again and again and again, like, let me in, let me in, let me in. Eventually, if you're at the clubs I was going to, they let you in, okay? But it takes persistence, and these are, I don't know, these analogies are flowing tonight. We're just gonna go with it. It takes some persistence. So that's the first thing to know, is how your mind works. The second thing that we're going to be talking about that's important here is, what is the thing that you actually want? And how does energy play into it? So so here's what you need to know. Everything has a frequency, okay? Everything has a frequency. There's a fantastic quote from Albert Einstein. And I love this because it makes it so simple. He says, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is science. Okay, so I'll read it again. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is science. So when I had that big leap financially, and it happened so fast, it wasn't that I learned a better technique. It had nothing to do with technique. It was that I got open-minded to the concept that maybe this stuff is actually true. And I started in my mind trying to match, what is that 7-figure frequency? How does that woman show up? What are her thoughts? What does it feel like in my body? And in 6 weeks, it shifted. In 6 weeks, it came in. And so it wasn't about, I actually worked less in that time. I did fewer things, but I learned how to get on the energy of what I wanted. Okay, so when I'm working with my clients and in my own life, the transformation has come because I started to understand how quantum physics works. So quantum physics is just, it's how so much of our technology works today, but we don't talk about it often when we're in business settings or people think it's woo. Again, it's not, it's just science. It's what empowers us. It's how things operate at a molecular level. It's what empowers us in this moment for Bambi to be joining from Bermuda, right? And for you to be joining from wherever you are, and us to be connecting because we are on the same frequency. When you turn that radio dial up or down, I know now it's like you just pop in the podcast you want. Same concept though, right? You have to be on that frequency of the thing for it to come through on your device. It's the exact same thing. When I call you or when I text you, I'm tuning into your frequency. That's how I'm getting you, regardless of where you are in the world. So this is how lasers work. This is how your computer works. It's how the internet works. It's how your phone works. And it is universal law. This is how it works. Everything you want, everything in the world, actually, whether you want it or not, has a frequency to it. So there's a universal law called the law of vibration. So everything vibrates. Everything vibrates, okay? And I know when you look at your walls and you think they're stationary, or you look at, your glass of water, you're like, no, it's not vibrating. If you look at it close enough, it is. It's nothing but atoms and molecules that are moving at really, really high speed, so fast that you can't see them. So everything has a vibration to it. Everything has a frequency to it. So if we go back to the Einstein quote of match the frequency of what you want, and you must get that result. You cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. That's what we're talking about here. And that's what, for me, I don't know about for you, like, let me know if this was taught to you in your corporate sales training or, the programs you've done. Like, I was never taught this. I was taught, here's a better script to use and you'll close more clients. Here's a better way to manage your time and you'll close more clients. And that stuff is all well and good, but no one ever taught me how to match the frequency of what I wanted. And if I did that, all of that other stuff really didn't even matter. It would all fall into place, and it would fall into place easily and effortlessly. So when you desire more money, more health, better health, better relationships, whatever those things are, they carry a higher frequency. So if you're going from a $2,000 month, let's just use a number, like let's say you're bringing in $2,000 a month. So your frequency is here, okay? And you want to get to a $10,000 month. That frequency is up here. So all that you're doing when you're creating that quantum leap is you're going from this frequency to that frequency, okay? So how do we do that? And this is something that I'm so passionate about teaching my clients is how do you create using the quantum model of reality? Because when you do that, you're no longer matter trying to change matter. Like you're no longer just pushing and forcing and hustling and doing more and more and more of what's not working. You're creating a quantum leap because you're learning how to use energy to affect matter. All right. I'm going to give you some more resources at the end of this, and stay with me during this series. If some of this stuff is new, it's okay, because it took me a while for this to sink in. So it's okay if you're like, this feels over my head right now. It was over my head for so long too. Or maybe you're getting it just like that, and that's great too, right? You're in the perfect place wherever you are. But what we're talking about here is creating with the quantum model, which is learning how do we use energy and frequency to get you at the level of the thing you want without that push, push, push. So we're leveraging science here to accomplish your goals. So how do you get, so here's one thing to keep in mind. You do not get what you want. You get what you are. Okay? So people get law of attraction wrong because they think if I just say I want it, I'm going to get it. No, that's the first step. But then you must become it. You must get on the same frequency of that thing before it can come into you. Okay? So how do we get on the frequency of the thing you want? It's a combination of what you think and what you feel. So for me, when I was wanting to make my leap from 6 to 7 figures, I didn't know like how this stuff would actually work, and it hadn't happened yet in my life. So I was kind of just trying, but I knew enough to know that if I could start to show up like a woman who had a 7-figure business, and that would mean knowing how she thinks and knowing how she felt, that I could get closer to it. All right. I'd studied this stuff enough to know it. So I had a Post-it note on my computer that said, I'm a 7-figure boss babe. What would she do in this situation, and how would she think? So if you follow Dr. Joe Dispenza, I know some of my people are Joe fans. I'm a huge Joe fan. He talks about the fact that we live in an electromagnetic universe. So everything here is electromagnetic. What does that mean for you? It means that the way that you're going to create what you want is learning to actually use that. So your thought is like the electricity. When you think, I want a $10,000 a month, you're connecting with God, universe, formless substance, the void, whatever your language is. So you're sending that out into the universe. Now, the way that you actually draw it back, it's like you're putting in that request, okay? But the way you're going to draw it back into your life is by starting to feel as though you already have that thing. So that's the magnetism. Your emotion magnetizes it back to you. And that's why if you're like me and you did affirmations for so many years of, I'm a millionaire, I'm this, I'm that, and I never got any results, it was because I didn't understand the importance of the feeling. Because again, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. So if you're repeating over and over and over again to yourself, I'm a $10,000 a month earner, I'm a $100,000 a month earner, it doesn't matter. If you're repeating that again and again, but you're still feeling feelings of lack, anxiety, scarcity, you're sending out that energetic vibration where your frequency is not matching that thing, right? So your frequency is low. So what you have to think about is when you get to that thing, how is it going to feel? So when you have that 7-figure business and you're traveling the world, what are the feelings you're going to feel? Expansive, free, abundant, joyful, grateful, right? Those are the feelings you're going to feel. This is where we get it messed up, is we think, I'll feel that when it happens. No, It's not actually how you're going to bring it in. You'll never bring it in if you think that way. You have to feel that first. You must start feeling that first, regardless of what's going on in your outer circumstances. And that's actually how you draw it into you. You must get on the frequency of the thing that you want vibrationally, which is thinking the thoughts that you'll think when you're there, and then feeling the feelings that you're going to feel when you're there to start to draw it in to you. So, and this was such a big mindset shift for me because I didn't realize how important the feelings were. You know, I thought I'm living in constant state of anxiety and that's just, it is what it is, but I'm going to keep trying harder and get a better system, get a better sales script, whatever, and it'll come in better. And what I didn't realize was the thing that was limiting me was that my vibration, which was just my emotions, was like down here because I was in anxiety. So because I was in anxiety, it didn't matter how much I thought about bringing in more money, bringing in the clients I wanted. I was a vibrational match for anxiety. I was a vibrational match for more things that created anxiety in my life. So again, your thought signals the thing that you want into the universe, to God. Again, use your language. Your emotion draws it back to you. This is how it works. This is how we create in the quantum model. And it's so exciting when you learn this because you realize that it's actually so much easier than we think it is, and that we've just made it hard because we don't understand how it actually works. And so Wallace Wattles in The Science of Getting Rich, which is a phenomenal book for all of you to be reading, says it's something like, the labor from which most men shrink is to think truth in spite of appearances. Okay? So it's to think truth in spite of appearances. Knowing that the appearances in your life, so everything in your life right now, is simply a result of your thinking and feeling up until this point. That's it. Like if you really look at it, for something to have been in your life, you have to have been a vibrational match to it in some way, shape, or form. It's how it works. And that has to do with the people, that has to do with the money, it has to do with your health. And this goes for the good and the bad. So whatever you're happy for, whatever you're grateful for in your life, it's like, I did that, right? I did that. Awesome. Whatever you're not loving in your life, you get to take full responsibility for it and say, oh, I did that too. And so I had to really look at, man, it's me that's limiting me. There's something about me that's capping me and capping how much money, opportunity, all of that I'm bringing in. So the steps here are, well, actually, let me share this first. How do you know what frequency you're on, right? That's a lot of times what people want to know. You know by how you feel. And I'm going to share, I made a resource for you that I'm going to share with you how to get that in a moment. It's totally free. So you know by how you feel, and you know by what your results are in your life right now. That tells you what frequency you're on. So you want to do, I would even do some journaling and say, like, for that thing I want, how am I going to feel when that happens in my life? Am I going to feel grateful, expansive, abundant? Because here's, oh, this is what I was going to share before. The reason you want that thing is actually just because of how you think you're going to feel when you get it. That's it. That's it. You think having more money, having more like world travel, whatever, is going to make you feel really good. And it's not to say that it won't, but you have to make that shift to realize that you feeling good is what brings it in. And you feeling worthy of it and deserving of it and feeling that feeling first, where you don't actually need it to feel good, that's what brings it in. It's a total shift from how we're taught to create. You must feel the feelings first. And so this is, so again, how do you know what frequency you're on? You look at how you feel every day. Do you feel great? Do you feel expansive? Do you feel abundant, regardless of what's going on in your outer circumstances? Because we live in time lag. So whatever, when you start feeling this way, like I've got some clients on the call right now or on the live right now who have been sending me private messages. They just started with me recently. They're like, oh my gosh, I feel different already. Nothing's changed yet in my outer reality, but I'm feeling different. And that's exciting. That's when you know you're on the right path. And your outer circumstances must shift to match that vibration that you're at, that feeling that you're at. But you have to remember that we live in time lag. So there's going to be a period, there's an incubation period, just like you're planting a plant where you plant the seed, it doesn't spring up the next day for most plants, right? It takes a while. So all you're doing is planting new seeds. That's it. And your only job is to stay at that frequency as much as you can of that feeling, like continuing to think about the thing you want and feel the feeling of what it's going to be like when you have it, and it must come to you. That's law of attraction, right? You get like attracts like. So it must come to you, but you just have to remember there's a time period, there's an incubation period for that, and that's where most people lose faith and hope. And that's what I didn't understand for so long, and I would give up. I'd meditate and affirm for a few days, and then it wouldn't happen, nothing would shift to my outer world, and I would give up because I didn't understand the importance of actually feeling it first. So that's critically important, is you must feel the thing first. Now again, where does the resistance come into play with this? When you think about the thing you want, when you feel in your body any sort of constriction, your body is such an amazing tool because it gives you constant feedback of where you're at from a vibrational standpoint, from a creative standpoint, from an emotional standpoint. So when you think about that thing you want and you feel doubt, fear, worry, or you feel like, for me, if I have a limiting belief about something or I've got resistance, I'll feel it as like kind of constriction in my chest or in my stomach. I don't know if you guys can relate to that at all, but that's typically where I feel it. That's the indication that you have resistance against it. And that resistance comes from, going back to this, hopefully this is making sense the way I'm explaining it, because this is like quantum physics and neuroscience in a nutshell. Your resistance, we're gonna rock it here. That resistance comes from your subconscious beliefs, that programming that you received from the ages of 0 to 7. So that's all it is. That's an indication to you when you don't feel good. That's an indication that there's some sort of a limiting belief going on for you about your ability to get that thing. Now, what are limiting beliefs? They're just lies. They're just lies. And this is something I learned from my dear girlfriend, my mastermind partner, Allison Chavez, and I think she learned it from David Bear. I don't know, that's the beautiful thing about this, is this stuff gets passed on, but guys, definitely go follow her. She's so great with explaining this. But all it is it's a lie. It is simply a lie that's holding you back from what you want. And again, how do you know you're thinking a lie? It's because you feel bad in your body. That's it. But that lie, that resistance, right? Whatever that resistance is, it keeps you stuck at the frequency you're at instead of going up to the matching the frequency of the thing you want, which is how you actually get it. So we just want to notice. And what I would do if I were you over the next, just kind of next couple days as we go through this series, is start to notice, what are the limiting beliefs? Like what makes you feel bad in your body when you think about your goal? What's the actual thought that you were thinking, knowing that it's simply programming. It's simply programming. And the great news is what's a belief? It's just a thought you think a lot. That's it. It's just a thought you think a lot. You can create any belief you want in your mind, and your beliefs always determine your outcome, because again, your subconscious will never make you a liar. It won't. If you believe it's hard to make money, it will be. If you believe it's easy to make money, it will be. If you believe you can be a millionaire, you will be. If you believe you can't, you won't. It's that simple. It is that simple. So all we need to do is notice when we feel bad, oh, I'm thinking a limiting belief. What was I just thinking? Because thoughts always trigger emotions. That's how it works. So we just happen to say, oh, what was the thought I just had that made me feel bad in my body? That was a limiting belief, because that's creating resistance. That's keeping your frequency lower than that thing that you want. Because you want to think about it. Whenever you have that thing that you want, are you going to feel anxiety about it? Are you going to feel fear? Are you going to feel worry? Like, how are you going to feel when that thing happens? No, you want it because you know you're going to feel expansive, grateful, free, unlimited, joyful, happy, loving. So we must get into those feeling states first to be an energetic match, a vibrational match for that thing to come in. Okay? So I've got a resource for you, because what we're going to be doing over the rest of this series is I'm going to be teaching you some practices from the book Ask and It's Given by Abraham Hicks. It's 22 different practices that they teach to help you start to move up what they call the emotional guidance scale. So there's an emotional scale let me explain this a better way. There's a scale that tells you where you're at vibrationally by what your emotions are. And they range anywhere from, like, a peak emotion would be joy, gratitude, love, freedom, appreciation. That's where, when you're there, regardless of what's going on in your outer world, you're going to start to transform your outer world really fast and bring in what you want. All the way down to the lowest level emotions are fear, grief, depression, despair, powerlessness. So I'm going to be teaching you over the course of this series, what are some practices you can do regardless of where you find yourself right now to move up that scale vibrationally so that you can more easily become an energetic match for what you want. And they're fun practices, and I've been experimenting with them in my life over the past couple of weeks, and oh my gosh, do they work? Like, I'm telling you guys, they work, and I was the biggest skeptic of this. So again, if you're skeptical, I feel you, I get it, I know, but just go into it with an open mind. That's all that, if you're gonna be here, you might as well go into it with an open mind. So if you wanna I made a download for you of this scale so you can use it and follow along over the course of the series. ElyseArcher.com/resistance. ElyseArcher.com/resistance. You go there, you can get the download. And so you can work with me, you can work with this over the course of the series to follow along and say, oh, where am I emotionally today? Because that's telling me where my frequency is right now. Like, oh, I'm feeling worry. Okay, it's kind of a low level frequency, so there's no judgment on it, but I know that when I hit that $10,000 month, when I have that 7-figure business, when I have amazing love, I'm actually not going to feel that. So that tells me, oh, I need to shift how I'm feeling so I can get and match the frequency of the thing I want so it can start to come in. Okay. The other thing I'll say, and this was a really big mindset shift for me, and I notice still to this day, when I start to go into lower level frequencies and lower level vibrations, it's because I'm too worried about the how. And I thought you had to know how to get what you want. It makes logical sense, right? It's like, shouldn't you? No, because the hows, like if you're here, okay, you're here and what you want is here, the hows live here. They don't live down here. So the hows are revealed to you once you get here emotionally and once you get here with your thoughts. So you don't need to worry about the hows. The hows will show up for you when you're there. Your only job is to start really getting excited about the fact that if you can think it, if you can believe it, you can have it. And that God, universe, source, again, whatever your language is, want the best for you. God and the universe want constant expansion. They want growth. They experience themselves through us. So your desire for more, there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually just part of you living out your fullest expression of life here. So if you have judgment on wanting more, which I did for so long because I didn't understand how it worked, and I was told for so many years, be happy with what you want, or be happy with what you have, you're so much luckier than most people, right? So I would make myself wrong for wanting more. We have to stop making ourselves wrong for wanting more. So get that download, again, ElyseArcher.com/resistance. It's the free download, and it's kind of like the companion download that goes with this series. You were brainwashed, I was brainwashed when we were born, at least most of us were, that life is hard, we need to be worried about things, there's scarcity. It was brainwashing, okay? Your job now is to re-brainwash yourself to get what you want. You must be so mindful of what you pay attention to and what you put in your mind, because literally maybe your life, maybe not yours, but your quality of life depends on it. It does. So it has to be, when I was reprogramming, it was such a fierce intention on only listening to a few things. I was listening to Science of Getting Rich every single day. I was listening to You're a Badass at Making Money every single day. I was listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza. I listened to my girl Allison. I listened to Abraham Hicks, Bob Proctor. Those are the resources, because it's a shift. I stopped watching all news. I stopped reading anything that made me feel bad, made me doubt, question myself, because I started to understand how this stuff works. And it was like, it's time for me to give myself the support I need to achieve what I want. You're finally getting it again, baby. That's beautiful. Yeah. And the timing is perfect. There's never any judgment on where we are with it. Our journeys are perfect, right? But so it's that. And it's like, you're going to think it's all phooey for a while. That's fine. The way you're going to know that your subconscious has accepted the belief is when you say it to yourself, and you may need to repeat it 1,000 times a day for 2 months, right? But you'll know your subconscious has accepted it when you don't feel resistance in your body around it anymore. Okay, so that's it. When you don't feel resistance in your body anymore, your subconscious has accepted it. It must now become your truth. Your only job is to remember you live in time lag, so everything has to play out for a while. You're planting seeds, so depending on the size of the seed you're planting, it may take Like if you want, say, I want to go manifest a sandwich, each of you can probably go do that tonight. And that's not a big, that doesn't feel like a big deal. If you say, I want to go manifest $1 million, you totally can. But if it feels like a big leap for you from where you are right now, it's just going to probably take a little bit longer, and that's okay, right? That resistance, whatever the resistance is, which feels bad in your body, feels like restriction, constriction, it's what blocks the thing that you want from coming in. It's kind of like, you're like, oh my God, I don't, like, there's scarcity, there's not enough. Like, literally look at the visual of the clenched fist, right? Where you're blocking it. I used to live in so much scarcity, even though I had money, I would always be afraid it would go away. And I would hold on to everything I had so tightly. Well, just look at this. How am I supposed to get any more if I'm doing this, right? So that was resistance. So this is where we have to learn how energy works. And we have to learn how quantum physics works. And we have to start to believe and shift our mindset that you live in a loving universe that supports you and that wants everything you want for you, okay? So it's fierce reprogramming, and it's fierce, like, really being careful with what you let in your brain and your mind, because it's critical. It is so critical that you learn to program yourself with what supports you. So again, if you want that download as we go through this series together, ElyseArcher.com/resistance. And I think the key word, James, is allow, right? Allowing yourself to feel it. And sometimes it's helpful just to, the thing that helped me think about visualization was to think about it as you're just creating a memory of something that hasn't happened yet. Because I used to really struggle with it. I was like, well, what if I go all in on visualizing something and it doesn't happen and none of this works? I don't know if any of you have it. So like, I would hold myself back from really getting into like feeling it because I was so afraid of the disappointment. And when I learned to just think of it as like, oh, I'm just creating a memory of something that hasn't happened yet, and learned that we're always creating twice. Everything is created twice. Once here in your mind, and then once in your outer world. From what you ate for dinner tonight to what you're wearing, it started as a thought, right? It all started as a thought. So all that you're doing when you're creating a new reality is you're taking it from here, from thought form, and you're bringing it into physical form. That's it. And if you were planting a seed for something, for a plant that you wanted to grow, how would you tend to it? Would you pull it up? Would you freak out? Like, oh, I planted it yesterday, it's not here yet. Would you water it with doubt and fear and all that, right? No, you would plant it. You would do what you needed to do to tend to it. You would water it, you give it some Miracle Grow, and you'd chill. You would chill out. But you probably get excited thinking about that thing and getting excited thinking about like, oh, I'm going to have this great, vegetable garden in my yard or whatever the things that you planted. But it's that simple. It's that simple, but you would chill because you would trust that it was coming. Your subconscious mind is just like the soil. Whatever you plant in there, you will get back in your life, and it's agnostic. You can plant, you can plant a palm tree in the soil and you'll get a palm tree. Or you can plant nightshade, deadly nightshade in the soil, and you'll get deadly nightshade. It's agnostic. It does not care. Your subconscious is the same. So whether the seeds that you're planting, the thoughts that you're planting support you or don't support you, your subconscious, again, it will never make you a liar. So it will go about finding situations, circumstances, and opportunities or not opportunities to match your belief system about what's possible for you. Imagination, and it would probably be great to do like a whole live on this sometime in the series. It's one of the most underutilized tools because we're taught not to think too big. We're taught to play small, right? We're taught, oh, be happy with what you have. So we stop imagining after we've been kids for a while. Everything great in this world came because somebody imagined it first. Wright brothers, right? And the airplane, they had to imagine it. Elon Musk and Tesla, he had to imagine it. Everything great started with a thought, and it wasn't real yet. So all you're doing when you're creating what you want is you're allowing yourself to dream. You're allowing your imagination to run wild. Okay? And I'm going to teach you practices in this series that allow you and help you to release the resistance that you feel when you visualize, when you set your goals, so that you can achieve them more effortlessly and easily in your life. Okay? So starting tomorrow night, I'm going to start teaching you these practices that you can use that will literally just dissolve the resistance that you have to what you want. Because when you dissolve that resistance, your vibration rises and you start to match the thing you want, and then it must come into your life. It's universal law. It has to happen.